In this project, we will simulate a fish cage floating on seawater.
By clicking on the subscribe button, you will be informed about the newest CFD training videos by Mr. CFD. Or if you are watching the training video, click on the Mr. CFD logo and subscribe.
After suppressing the solid section, you can simply right-click on Mesh and then click on Generate Mesh button. Now if you double-click on the Boundary Conditions button in the Appeared part, if you click on the inlet boundary, you can see the type of this boundary is defined as velocity inlet. By clicking on Edit button, a new window will appear in which you can change the settings for this boundary. In the Appeared window, you can see we have enabled the Open Channel Wave BC, and in front of the Average Flow Velocity Magnitude, we have entered the value of 3.08 meters per second. After double-clicking on the Residuals button, a new window will appear. In the Appeared window, you can see the absolute criteria for equations like continuity, x velocity, y velocity, and so on. Now, when you set the software to start the simulation, there would be error between each iteration. Now, if that error is less than these criterion, it conveys the meaning that that equation has reached convergence. After double-clicking on the initialization button, a new window will appear showing you different methods of initialization, hybrid and standard. Now in the standard initialization method, you get to choose the first amounts and values for the first iteration of the simulation progress. These values refers to the values used in the first iteration of the simulation progress, and if you choose the values for each parameter wisely, your simulation progress will finish sooner. It should be mentioned that you can also choose the first values or the initial values by just clicking on the Compute From drop-down list and clicking on one boundary. For example, by clicking on Compute From All Zones, the software will automatically average the values in different zones and boundaries and put those values in the initial values for the software. Now in the Appeared window, all we have to do is to define a mutual relation between the Fluent software and the mechanical APDL software. To do that, we right-click on Data Transfer and then select Create Data Transfer. Now, for example, if you click on the first data transfer, you can see that we have selected the mechanical APDL as the source software to export the variable of incremental displacement to the Fluent software as the displacement of the solid object. Now in this slide you can clearly see the volume fraction contour and you can clearly see the wave motion boundary condition acting inside our computational domain. And now in this slide you can clearly see the pressure distribution inside our computational domain. And finally in this slide you can easily see the changes in the position of the solid object. You can also see the changes in the deformation of each of the blades of the object. Finally, a summary of different settings and setup that we have used in our project is presented to you in the slide.
Obtain the mesh file and also the full training movie by purchasing this product.
To benefit from Mr. CFD services including simulation, consultation, and training, contact our experts via info@mrcfd.com.